This is Ivey, the fulfillment artist. And in this video, I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know about long distance relationships. Not an hour apart, but 6,500 miles apart, across the globe, in all these different time zones. And I'm going to teach you everything you need to know. Because when people say, oh, it's long distance, we're half an hour apart and an hour apart, that's just, you don't know what a long distance relationship is. Now, most people don't. But if you can survive across the world with seas apart, and you can use my tips, I'm pretty sure that you can survive 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours when you're in the same place. Because it's different when you have to get a flight, 11-hour flight, 10-hour flight to see the person. So without further ado, you're probably wondering, what's our story? Because every long distance relationship has a story. So Evelyn and I met 3.5 years ago. And when we met, we fell in love, but we couldn't maintain a long distance relationship because I didn't have the skills, I didn't know what was going on, and it would have been impossible. It would have never have worked. And maybe you're in a situation now where you're attempting to make it work, or you've tried and failed and you're wondering, what could I do differently next time? Because we're in a world where we're becoming much more international, and it's much more likely that you're going to have a long distance relationship. So how do you maintain that? So we started going out again in November of last year. So that's about 13 months. And that was when I was in San Francisco and she was in Los Angeles. And I just went down to see her there. And then we committed in San Francisco. But since then, that point, I had a day with her then. And then I decided to fly to LA and we had 4 more days. And then I didn't see her in 3.5 months. And then since then, she's flown to London, I've flown to America, we've flown to Thailand, she's flown to Shanghai, and we've flown back and forth all these different times. But how do you maintain a strong relationship? Not a dwindling one, not a crappy one, but a really strong, loving relationship. And I'm going to go through all these points now. So, first thing is that long distance relationships are no different than other relationships statistically. If you're in a long distance or a normal distance, there's no difference with regards to the likeliness of you staying together for the long term. So if you're worried, you don't need to be. Next, by the way, I have to write everything down because there's actually quite a lot to go through, surprisingly. So next thing is that you have to schedule a time to chat. So you've got, depending on time zones, things like that, you need to schedule things in advance. So don't go, oh, I need to speak to her and I'll just give her a call because it would be 3 a.m. So you need to schedule calls in the week and do it a week in advance so you know exactly when you're speaking to each other. And of course you can give each other a call here and there and send messages, but this is the sort of minimum that you will do for each other so that you're really committed to each other. So you can say, yeah, I'm going to speak to you this evening at 8. I'm going to get up early in my morning and speak to you at 5. Because a lot of this is compromise. And there are morning routines where I like having my mornings to myself. But there are some times where I'll have to get up at 5 and speak to Ev for an hour because it's the only good way to do it. Because, sometimes it's her evenings, sometimes it's my mornings. So you need to work out between you, what is the best times for you guys to chat. And schedule them in and then repeat them weekly. And I'll go into some other stuff, details-wise, of what softwares to use and things like that. So, next, set a date night. So date nights are where you get dressed up, like really nicely, and you have a date. So one of you could cook dinner. It could be dinner and breakfast. We've had, breakfast and dinner. I had a little bit of a wine with breakfast. That's fine. But lots of different things to do. But make sure you get dressed up, have fun with it. And that keeps the relationship alive instead of this dull, boring conversations where you're both crying, missing each other, which a lot of people I know in long distance relationships do. Instead, have a bit of fun. And you're making it as if it is a really real relationship with regards to it being 3D. Because you're spending, today's our date night. And having that time together is amazing. So I'd really recommend doing that. And how often? I would say every 2 weeks. Schedule a time, you can do it weekly. And that way you can really have that time with each other, just so you can catch up on everything, all the little details that you may miss when you're not together. So next thing is a quiz night. This is really cool. So with long distance, it depends on how long you've been together, but a quiz night is something where you can just ask lots of interesting questions to one another, questions that you haven't asked before. So in the link below, I'll put, I think it's 36 or 37 questions to fall in love. They are awesome questions, like really interesting things, and look online for different quizzes, different questions, and just go about asking each other those questions, because it means that you're spending some real quality time understanding the other person. Instead of just talking about crap and things that don't really matter, you're actually getting to understand the person much more, especially when you're first starting off. Because maybe you're in a long distance relationship where you've met and now you're a long distance and you don't really know what to do. And do you know them that well? But when you're together, it was really great. So you've got to spend some time really getting to know them much deeper. And asking these questions on a quiz night is a fantastic way to really get to know that person on a much, much deeper level. So next, share your day with your partner. So send voice messages, Snapchats. I'm a culprit of Snapchat not sending enough, but they want to know the little things in your day. So snap them, tell them you're thinking about them. And that will mean that you start to interact in the day much more. And it's those little things that make you feel that you're really connected. When you share that small thing, like I slipped over at work today and it was incredibly embarrassing because, my phone flipped over, hit my boss on the head and I had to run and go pick it up. Right? Lots of just little things that spark that's fun, that smile. I think Snapchat's a great tool for long distance, just because it's so fun, so different, and it just means that they're really part of your day. And send it to them. Don't just say, "Oh, watch my story." None of that crap. So next, you got to have a routine for one another. So what do I mean by this? Before you go to bed, send a message. Or in the morning, always send a good morning message. Or for us, we would send a message for when that person woke up. But because of the time zones, it depends on where you are. But it means that in the morning, you've got a message to wake up to from that person, which is really nice. I think voice messages are really good. The odd video here and there, I think, is really special. But I find that just messaging and texting, there's no feeling there, right? When you're just messaging and you're just reading words, it's very difficult to encapsulate how that person's really feeling. So I'd really recommend sending a lot of different voice messages. And we use WeChat. It's a Chinese app. I think it's brilliant. I'd recommend downloading it just because then it would just be you two on the app if you're not from the East, you're from the West. Or you could use WhatsApp. I mean, whichever apps really suit you guys, and just decide, on the best one for you. Next. Set some ground rules. So in a relationship, one of the hardest things is trust, because you're not going to be with the person as much as you would. So, you don't actually know exactly what they're doing at every point during the day, and you can't see them every evening, especially when you're different time zones apart. So set ground rules. Not holding each other. I've got ours for us. So, no dancing or grinding with other people. No holding hands with other people. Don't go to a one-on-one dinner with someone of the opposite sex unless they're in like a list of, your closest friends. So make a list beforehand of these are the people I can go to dinner with. But don't go to dinner with other people because, you don't want to have that sort of connection or environment with another person when you're in a relationship. So, I think that just makes sense. If you're drunk, call them on the way home. That's worked really well for time zones. But if you're in the same country, even so, I think it's nice to be able to chat to them and to make sure they're okay. And then the last one I think is the most important, and that's act as if the other person was always with you. And I think that's a really profound thing, because sometimes we forget. Even if you're in a relationship now where you're in the same place, sometimes if the person isn't with you, you may act slightly differently than if they were next to you. So imagine if you could act as if that person was always with you. It's a really important, profound thing to think about, especially when you go on nights out. The way in which you interact with people, the vibes you give off, it's incredibly important. So, next point: know the exact date that you're next meeting. So put it in the diary, book a flight. Say I'm going to see you at this date, because that way you've got this. Oh, I'm going to see you in Feb. I can't wait. And it's important to have a date in mind. Otherwise, what happens is you're just left with, I guess maybe I'll see you in 3 weeks or a month or 2 months. I don't really know. And that not knowing is really difficult for relationships. So we've made sure that whenever the other person flies out, that you've got a set date when you're next seeing the other person. Even if it's not exactly, you're like, early February between these 2 days. Between the 9th and the 13th, I will be flying out then. Something like that, I think, is really, really important. Okay. Now we're moving on to, this is nice. Take a ton of photos when you're together. I mean, a ton of photos. I mean, be a photo maniac. I mean, bring your phones with you, get people to take photos of you, because the more photos that you have, that allows you to sort of reminisce on, look at every single little experience that we had when we were together. And it makes it seem as if the time was slightly longer because you've got even more photos, especially when you're only seeing each other for, a week every 3 months or something like that. You want to be able to enjoy those moments and be able to reminisce and post on Instagram, post on Facebook, but have all these photos that you can really say, look at all those different memories that we shared together. So if you're not taking photos, you should be taking a lot more. Yes, it's important to enjoy the moment and be present with the other person, but also the ability to keep those memories and have those photos for you guys to reminisce is something that I would say is a must. Next, do little gestures. So I have something where I try and do like a really nice thing for Evelyn, like a wow thing, every 3 weeks to a month or so. And I set a reminder. And the reason this is the case is because it surprises the other person and you go above and beyond. And this is the same for any relationship. I would do this if I was in long distance, if I wasn't in long distance. Why? Because it's easy for us to settle in relationships where we say, it's all going well, and you don't really go above and beyond because you just feel so comfortable. So instead, a wow can be going on moonpig.com and making a really funny card and sending it to the other person. It could be sending flowers. It could be sending a box with, one of your t-shirts that you're sending to the other person with some notes and chocolate. There's so many different ways you can do it, but always have that element of surprise because it's the little things that mean the most to people. And a card may take you, 15 minutes? But they will remember that for the next week, 2 weeks. And that really helps shorten the distance and makes the other person feel that you're really, thinking about them and really care above, what they may have previously imagined. So do spend some time thinking about what little things could you do that would bring a smile to the other person's face. Next, you've got to make sure that you are completely open with your partner 100%. Because if you're hiding even a small thing, because it's long distance, distrust is formed much quicker because you can't immediately be with the other person for a day because, different time zones, different commitments. So you've got to be completely open and honest. And when you're saying, I didn't think you'd be interested in, I didn't lie, I just didn't say. It's all just bollocks, right? You've just got to tell them everything. Because the more they know, the more they will feel connected to you, and the more they will feel that they are a really big part of your life. Because they want to feel like a priority in your life. And I'm going to get onto that in a sec. So making sure that you're completely open, but also that your partner's the priority. So, don't say, I'm going to schedule time, say, I'm going to make time for you. That was a small point that Evelyn repeatedly told me, which I have now learned. Thank you. Next is get to know other people in long distance relationships because they know what you're going through, right? If you're only hanging around couples that are together all the time, you're going to get jealous, annoyed, and frustrated. Whereas if you know some people in long distance, be like, I'm struggling this week, or at least you can talk to them and you share sort of similar things, as opposed to going on nights out with couples or spending time with loads and loads of single people isn't good because you'll be in the wrong environment for your relationship to really move forward. Okay, so that's just a couple of tips. Next, some tangible things you need. So these are like apps, gadgets, and all of that stuff. So iCal, you want to link your calendars together. So what I recommend doing is you make your Google everything on Google Calendar. Okay, so you both make your Google calendars and then you link them with your iCal if you have a Mac or whatever other computer you use. And then you're going to share your calendar, share and edit with the other person, because then it becomes their my calendar. This is really important. So they need to be able to edit it. Like the one that gives them the most access to the calendar, because then it comes under their calendars and then they can add it to their iCal. So this means that you can see their schedule all the time. So you can see if they've got a break, you can see what they're doing in the evenings, and that's really nice. And you've got to get diligent in writing everything that you're doing on your calendar down, because it's a way for them to understand. However, you still need to update them on what you're doing and when, because otherwise they will feel that they're just reading your calendar and you're not engaging with them, and they shouldn't be there just to read it. You need to tell them what you're doing as well as schedule it in the calendar. So the scheduling in the calendar is good for you anyway, because you should schedule stuff, and putting it online is helpful, especially for long distance relationships where you can see everything that's going on. You can see if they're going to have a night out. You can see when your date nights are together. And it just means that you would never double book, because everything's in the calendar as well. So that's something that's really, really important. Next, get some different apps, just like long distance relationships apps. LDR apps, things like that. If you just type that online, there's a bunch of them that will come up. Just check them out, and I think they're nice, they're handy, and they're fun. So yeah, download some of those apps, and they'll be really beneficial for you. Next, so I had neck ache actually, part of the way through the range, because you're holding your phone quite a lot, and then it actually causes pain. So there's this Amazon clip. I'm going to put it in the link below the video. Just buy it. It's brilliant. Speaking of which, I have it right here. It's amazing. So basically you click your phone into here, and it just comes up, and then you can just speak, and it just sits there, and you can just have a chat. It's really nice. Really recommend using this. It's awesome, actually. Amazon did very well. So buy that immediately, send it to them, and they'll think that's a really nice gift. And do what I did, which is send them the gift and then buy it the next day for you, so that you can have it as well. I think it's important. Okay. So some mistakes that I think that I've made, that if you're going to really commit to a long distance, then commit. If not, then just break it off, because don't do it half-heartedly. So these are mistakes that I've made, that I've seen people make, and that I've read online. So I mean, I've read a ton of stuff on long distance, but these are the key ones. So don't just share your day. Actually speak to them on the phone. Because I went through a phase where I was like, okay, I'm going to share everything, and then she's going to feel really connected. But actually, a lot of people want face-to-face time, right? That's why it's called FaceTime. So you can speak face-to-face. So don't just send voice messages, things like that. The face-to-face time, the scheduled messages, calling them is really important, because that gives you that human interaction. Do that more often. Next, all over. If you aren't in it for the long term, like I said previously, then you need to break up. Even though it's hard, just get it done, because otherwise you're going to go down, 3 months down the line, 4 months down the line, and then you're going to be unhappy. So either bite the bullet and say you're going to commit, or don't bother. Don't go in and out, because it'll be bad for both of you, and then it just causes more stress than otherwise. Never, ever, ever, ever argue over text. Just never, ever. Because in text, things just come across badly. It's just not good, right? Call them up. Say, I'm really sorry, let's chat then, because if you argue over text, and you're going to go back and forth, you get stressed, she gets stressed, and then it just all goes wrong. So have a phone call, say, when are you next free? Call them, compromise, and just speak to them on the phone. It's the most important thing. This goes for any relationship. Never argue over text. Things just you miscommunicate, and then there's issues. It's just avoid the whole thing. Okay. Guys, this is a good one. Tell your woman you're going to surprise them. Because, as guys, we like surprises, but this is the thing for all relationships. Tell them, I've got something, a gift's coming, it's coming in a week. And then send them a picture of the box. And basically, it adds up as points. So the more you tell them, the more excited they get. And then it becomes like a real journey, instead of just you sent me a box. It's like it's been a week's journey until it's arrived. It's a small thing. It makes a really big difference though. So that is pretty much everything, down to a T that I thought of and that Ev thought of, that can help you with long distance relationships. So you've pretty much learned everything. So I would say go back and watch this video again and actually do some of the stuff that I said, because I've ricocheted through a lot of stuff. And if you're not gonna, start applying it, then there's no point listening to the video. It's like I say in all my videos, you need to apply everything that I'm saying. So, buy the Amazon thing, get on the iCal, set reminders to surprise the other person. Do quizzes. Oh, another quiz. Do the 5 love languages. That's really, really awesome. And do it every year, because ours changed actually when we're apart, when we're together. It's pretty interesting. Any other bonus tips that I have? No, that's everything. So comment, like the video if you found it useful. Do ask some questions if you've got any. I'm sure there's going to be a ton. And I'm looking forward to speaking to you. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please hit the like button below and leave a comment if you have any questions, or just to let me know what you thought of the video. If you want to watch more videos like this, then make sure to subscribe now so you can learn how to live a truly fulfilled life.